guys, I am currently making this video for you guys, so hopefully it clears up some of the difficulties you might be having. I'm going to show you my workflow. Before I do that, really quick, be aware that I did download this new software so you guys can see my keys. However, it will show you the entire thing that I have typed, so sorry. Um, so before I begin, let's quickly set up our preferences. First thing that I want to do is make sure that your playback speed is 24 frames a second. You might see this instead. I want you to select 24 frames a second. For undos, again, for your convenience, you want to make sure that you go to infinite. Okay? This is to make sure that you can infinitely go back to any problems you may have had. That's no substitution for saving those, so please remember to save. For files and projects, for those of you working on Windows or sometimes your own personal computer, you want to make sure that you go to OS Native right here. OS Native is going to make sure that Maya can read your files. If you do not do this, you will not be able to access any of your files on your personal flash drive. So make sure it's on OS Native. Let's see what else. Really quick, we went to animation. I think that's good. Assets, cameras, files, projects, nodes, sound, time slot. Okay, that should be good. Worst case scenario, I'll just go back and I'll show you how to do it later on. Fix any problems you may have. So click on save. Again, I'm going to show you my personal workspace. What I did here was click on the outliner. I personally put the outliner onto the sidebar and then I slide it all the way up. I also deleted one of the other bars that is right here, so I only have what's necessary for animation, at least for me. Perfect, there we go. One other thing that I personally like to do when I'm animating, I prefer the 2-panel view. Sometimes I will use the 4-panel if I'm making a video game cycle animation and I need to see both sides. However, anytime I'm making an animation that requires maybe like a feature length kind of vibe where you're only having a fixed camera, if you have a fixed camera, I personally prefer this method because you don't have to look at the other sides. As long as the camera sets up the scene where it looks good, that's what matters. So I'm going to, again, reference. Always make sure you reference your rigs. Go to the reference editor, create reference. You're going to find your desired rig. I put mine on the desktop. Find the location of the rig. In this case, they created their own project file. So more likely than not, anytime you see a project file, it's going to be in the scenes right here. Click on the flour sack. You're going to see this a lot. Mental array nodes, just press OK. This is just a previous way of rendering. This, again, you're going to see this as well. Errors have occurred. And go ahead. I'm going to press F to zoom in. And right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a new camera. So go to Create, Cameras, select the camera. And in this case, I'm going to rotate it so that I can view the object that I want. Then here, make sure you're on this panel right here. If you want to look through the camera, go to Panels, look through Selected. And now, anytime I move my camera, I'm going to see the selected flour sack. Okay? Now, the other thing that you want to do is you want to know exactly what you're filming. So to do so, you're going to click on this right here. This is the resolution gate. And now I can see exactly what's going to be in my shot. Okay? So now what I want to do is I want to set up the scene to match my reference. This is the reference that I have created. I did draw this myself. Again, I'm not spending too much time on making it look nice. The most important thing is that it conveys the idea that you're trying to get across. I'm going to put this over to the side, and I'm just going to look at this reference every now and then. Because my screen isn't that big, I'm just going to hide it again right here in the back. Now, what I want to do is I want to set up my scene where it looks close to the reference to the best that I can. So what I have here is just a flower sack by itself. I'm going to create a polygon primitive, and I'm just going to make a quick cube. So right now I've got it pretty close. I don't have to stick to this too crazy. Now I'm going to move my flower sack in the appropriate position. And right there is pretty good. So now I'm going to go and make sure that my camera is looking at exactly what I want to see. So set up your camera. You want to make sure that you see the whole scene for this assignment. Okay, that's honestly good enough for me. I would spend more time posing this and setting up the shot. But for now, what we're going to do is actually set up the rig so it looks like the reference that we have created right here. And right now I have this little guy slouched over. Again, the reason he's slouched over, it needs to make sense why this flower sack is falling over. If you have him flipped to the other side, it makes no sense for him to go and all of a sudden become a ghost, essentially, and flip over and fall. So I want it to make sense. I want him to slouch over, like so. Move this reference a little bit so I can see it. And again, very helpful. Press the F key to zoom in. And I'm just going to start posing this little guy to have some weight to him. All right. And like I said, I just want to be able to use the reference to try to articulate what it is that I want. I'm actually just going to go into this view right now so that I can just focus on this and play with the rig. Don't be afraid to mess with it. You definitely want to be able to play with the rig. Let's see. And as of right now, I'm not going to talk too much. I might be talking to myself quite a bit. But I just want to make sure that this little guy is in the same pose to the best of my ability. So what I'm doing right now, just so you guys can see it, I've selected the furthest node and I'm working my way down. Now I'm going to rotate the entire thing. Just like that. And see how that rotates the entire thing like that? Another thing that you never want to do, this is very symmetrical. Very seldom are there things in life that are actually very symmetrical. So to avoid that, what I'm going to do is tilt it ever so slightly and see how much of a difference that makes. Just even the slightest amount. So slide things over a little bit, move them around. You're going to be doing this a lot when you're animating actual characters. Symmetry is not something that you see in life very often. So make sure to get rid of that. And again, see how it looks like he's going to fall right here. Okay, so I have this. I've exaggerated quite a bit. Actually looks kind of sad. Okay, so there we go. I've got this pose now. Because I do not want to continue accidentally touching this, go to the channel box. I'm going to create a brand new layer. I'm going to add the selected object, and then I'm going to make a reference out of it. So now I cannot accidentally touch this. And the reason I definitely want to do this is because I want to select this entire flour sack, and I don't want to have to keep unselecting this box right here. So now that I have this whole thing selected, press the S key. Now, you have to make sure that the whole rig, along with all of its nodes, are selected. If you don't do that, I'll show you what's going to happen. If you don't do that, and say that I'm really quickly just going to pose my character down here, and let's say I take the time to move the character. I lay this up. Move this a little bit more. And because he just smacked onto the ground, I want him to stretch out like so. Dead. Okay. Now let's say I only key this. Or better yet, actually let's just do this. Let's do this. Okay, so again, I'll do that again really quick so you guys can see. Move this down here. Splay them out. I'm gonna, sorry, I do that from time to time. I did it again. Okay. And let's say I have splayed out this character. They fell on the ground. I'm going to now manipulate this character where they kind of fall flat. And they're like just done. Dead. Okay. Now, the last thing I just clicked right here was the bottom part of that rig. Now, if I just press S, watch what happens to the entire thing. You're going to witness this a lot, okay? You need to make sure that you select the entire rig, okay? If you do not do that, you're going to find that all the time that you spent animating is now gone. So again, I'm going to go to my keyframes over here. Move this out of the way. Go to my keyframes. The 3 keyframes that I have is this pose right here. The next one is going to be where they hit and land. And the last one is going to be where they're flat splayed out. So let's go to the next keyframe. And personally, what I'm going to do is go to frame 2. And I'm going to set up the next frame. The reason I'm doing this as opposed to stepped is so that I can play with the timing at a later time. Let's just or S key. Again, the other thing that you want to do is make sure you save. So we'll go to save as. We'll just save it to the desktop really quick. I'll call it the flower tutorial. (01). If you guys are interested in actually looking at this file after I'm done, you guys are more than welcome to tell me the next time we meet in class. But I'm going to go ahead and save that. Okay, so if it does say that, sometimes you'll just have to save. File save as. Save as binary. I know I told you guys not to do that. But if you have to, please save your work. And then just save as binary instead. Continue. Okay? So now, let's actually create a little floor so I can see where this little character is grounded. There, much easier. Okay, so now I can see where the model intersects. I am now going to pose the character. Into the next shot. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I can get really, really lost in animation. I just want to give you guys a general workflow. So I'm spending time posing the character into this. Another thing that I'll tell you guys really quick, I didn't have a chance to, hold on, let me get this object out of this layer too, and into this one, add selected objects. Okay, that way I'm not accidentally clicking it. You're able to select whatever node you want, and sometimes what I'll do is I'll select all of these with the exception of scale, and I'll just press 0. And that resets the rig for me. This is going to be really, really convenient for you going forward, because you won't spend too much time trying to fix the rig to the original settings. Okay, so again, I'll do that again for you guys really quick. Select all of the nodes that you want to reset. Just click on 0. That's it. Okay. So now I'm going to move this. I want to try to, again, use my reference. As you can see here, I made the tassels falling up because gravity is affecting the tassels a little bit different than the main mass of the flower sack. So I want to make sure that these are pointed up. You can actually play with that a little bit more. And then these guys are important too. And then I'm going to, again, select the whole rig. Press the S key to make sure that everything is selected. And now watch, again. When I switch between these two poses, I can see exactly what it looks like. Okay, and this isn't going to be perfect. I just want to get the general idea. So now I'm going to go to the third pose. And for this one, I had mentioned earlier, I want you to go to Object instead of Gimbal. And that's so the gimbal is aligned with the actual character. Instead of the actual gimbal choice, or sometimes even world, I'm going to show you what happens if I select world. Double click on this. Oh, it's hiding right here. If I click on world, now the x-axis is totally facing a different direction. That's not what I want. So select on object, and now it's aligned with the actual character. And so, just like I was doing earlier, have this guy smacked onto the ground, splayed out. Just like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to now select these parts right here. Deselect that. And I think this should hopefully work. Get rid of that. Go to the channel box. On 0. Boom. And now it is reset. And again, I don't want anything too symmetrical, so I'm going to move this a little bit. So select the whole thing now. And I accidentally did this, but this actually works out because I'll show you what to do now. See how I have myself on the 5th frame? I'm going to make sure that I key that anyway. And what I want you to do is select all of the keys, hold down Shift, select, and I'm just going to move this to the 3rd frame now. So now I can look at my key poses to make sure that they work. And I might change this just a little bit. But the most important thing that I want to tell you guys is I didn't spend too much time on this because the main thing that I want to make sure is that I have strong poses. If you have strong poses, you can make your in-betweens a lot easier. If your poses are weak, it doesn't matter how much you let Maya do all the work. If the poses are weak, it's not going to read very well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to play with the timing of this. Select this, move this along, and see already I'm allowing the computer to do most of the work. And it looks very mechanical. So to fight that, what I'm now going to do is select this. I'm going to copy this frame, move it over here. I'm going to hold that frame for a little bit. And then I'm going to make an in-between right here. And I thankfully have that in-between right over here. So again, drawing helps out immensely. I am now going to try to pose that. And what I'll actually do is copy this one. And I'll put it right here. And I'm going to move this up, the whole thing. And again, see, I am not on object control. I'm on world. So I'm going to go back to object. Select this again. And as you can tell by the reference, I have it, the line of action right here. Also very important. Line of action makes this push back. I might rotate this even a little bit too. So now, when I put this back and view it, move that again. Oh, do you see that? I didn't key the whole thing. Okay, so lesson. As I mentioned earlier, you have to make sure to key the whole thing. Otherwise, just like you saw, you're going to waste a lot of time. So let me just do that again really quick. Remember, key the whole thing. And right now I'm just kind of cleaning up some of the mistakes that I made right here. I must have added too many frames. I'm gonna cut that out. Move this back over here so that I can look at my frames again. Looks like these got mixed up. Cut that one out. There we go. Now again, as you can see, the computer is trying to do a lot of the work for me. I don't want to let the computer do that. Already, because you can see that I have two keys right here, the computer is trying to tell me exactly what I want. That's not what I want. It's magically moving this already over. So again, what I'm going to do is copy this frame. I'm going to paste it right here. And now what I want to do is have this roll over. Again, I want to make sure that I am in object mode, which I am. Perfect. Key that. And now I have my keyframe set. And then what I would do here is I would play with the timing, but this is the main amount of work that I want to be able to see. This is the most important thing. If you guys can again see, and I'll take off the NURB so you guys can see it. That's the most important thing in your animation, making sure that you have the right poses. After that, you're going to start playing with timing, and that's that's a whole nother beast. But in the meantime, I hope this was helpful for you guys. Please, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to email me. You guys have my email. But other than that, good job, guys. Let me know how these videos help. If you find them helpful, I'll keep doing them. But yeah, have a great weekend.